experiences, not just for, to move your hips and your feet, but also to get you thinking and get your, thinking with your heart and feeling with your heart. That's what matters to me.
Yeah, welcome, Yoann Degioanni. Thanks for joining me for these 3 questions.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yoann is a keyboard player and composer, and has a sort of fairly new band called the Liquid Project. What, 12 months or maybe a bit?
That's it. 12 months as of very soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for joining me. So we'll get into the first question, which is why do you have music in your life?
So this is a question that I've actually asked myself a lot in the last couple of years, partially to do with me moving away from studies and integrating into more adult life, so having a lot more, responsibilities, have my own house, that's just comes with a whole lot of other stuff, and, doing with work and making it sustainable financially. A lot of the time I find it difficult energy-wise to commit too much to music. But at the same time, it's still obviously very present in my life, and it's something I love immensely. I think, but it's something that I always come back to, even when I'm super busy and I have no energy, I just always seem to come back to it. It's a way out. It excites me. Even from when I was a kid, my mum would make me listen to Peter and the Wolf. The French version of that, I'm French, that's my background, which is Piccolo et Saxo, which was the same thing basically, but it was just another way. But it's just I have very fond memories of that. So it's just always kind of been a part of my life, and I never really questioned it up until a couple of years ago. And then in high school it was an escape. I really struggled to fit it in high school. I was bullied quite a bit, and I just loved it. I was at Churchlands as well, so that's got such an amazing music program. And that just really allowed me to get into it. And then it became a lot more of a social thing, learning to play with people. And then eventually I was lucky enough to go and study in Sydney and play some tuba. I used to be a tuba player, studying classical music. And I think after my degree, I burnt out quite a bit. I think as well, just starting to ask myself exactly that question. Why do I have music in my life? Why is it this specific iteration? And I think I'm so glad I made that choice to move away from that, because now I have music in my life as a multifaceted thing. It's to continually explore sounds. As a composer, I'm sure you can relate. We're just always curious about that other sound, or changing that little thing, or that note, or that voicing, or harmony, or whatever. I love that. And that's something I want to do for the rest of my life, and then I have music, obviously such a joy to play. I'm at that point where I'm really happy with my level. I obviously want to get better, but I can do a lot of fun things that I really enjoy. So, being on stage with the band or any band is really a thrill and a rush. And then, finally, I'll just finish this question with a quote from one of my teachers, Steve Rosset, who's the principal of the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, who said that, music teaches you so much. It teaches you about life. It teaches you how to be an athlete, with that rigor and discipline towards your craft and the stuff you do. A psychologist in terms of just preparing for performances. And then obviously you have to have that more right side, I think it's right brain, creative side, where you're willing to be spontaneous and in the moment. So I think, really being a musician is such a commitment to just life in general,
Yeah. And what made your change from, because I guess were you studying classical brass?
Yeah.
And then, what made the change to sort of more contemporary, keyboard?
I guess my sense of ego, I just wanted to do more. The tuba sits in the orchestra and plays the bass lines, and, you spend basically your whole life practicing these solos that will eventually, you'll be judged on in auditions for orchestral gigs, which is really the be-all and end-all. I think that was the big thing for me, was that there wasn't, maybe it was my lack of creativity, whatever, but there was really a clear path that a lot of people would follow and do. And I think that I just wasn't ready at the end of my degree to just commit to that. I could see, do the students, do the auditions, the audition, especially for a classical orchestra, is such an arduous and, difficult process. And that's really what you're banking on. So I think the biggest thing for me was there were so many other things I wanted to explore. You know, I really started listening to lots of other music like funk, a lot more jazz, you know, even more electronic, you know, stuff, even more pop. You know, I never really listened to any of that stuff in classical. It was always just classical, you know, mainly, you know, Wagner or Bruckner or Mahler or Strauss. You know, those were really all I listened to for my degree. And I think I just wanted to explore more and not be locked into something, you know. I think that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and I get, yeah, that's the great thing about music, is that there are so many paths, especially if you are willing to, you know, change your perspective or be open-minded. So
absolutely.
Well, 100%. Welcome to the dark side.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, the second question is, how do you make music?
Honestly, so I've been kind of, you know, I was kind of just playing around with notes since I've been about 11 or 12, and it's still kind of been more or less the same process. It's been very organic, very much in that flow of just like, you're just jamming at home. You might just, you know, just jump into it sometimes. Sometimes you might have an idea that you've been working on, you might flesh out. But yeah, it's really varied. You know, I have gone, you know, and fully scored stuff before, and really thought about it and thought about each section and really revised it. And that had proved its own challenges and its own rewards as well. But yeah, in general, I have a pretty, especially now that I mainly use Logic to compose and to write stuff, you know, that makes it really easy to just straight away kind of know what I'm going for. And I think I'm definitely more towards the digital side of stuff. I know probably a lot more of your guests and even you probably use a lot more like Sibelius stuff or actual notation, which obviously I still know pretty well. But yeah, predominantly I will just sit down on a keyboard, try and jam something out, just work on a groove or a melody or whatever, and just see where it goes from there. You know, that's part of the journey for me as the composer, and that's as much the process I enjoy as the finished product, which is just that first time you really explore and you're like, oh, yeah, that was all right. Let's just keep staying on this for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's such a joy.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the exciting part of the creative process, is when you get that initial idea and you just get to play with those ideas. And so how do you bring your music? Are you the prime composer, or you know, the main composer for the Liquid project, or is it
so in the Liquid projects, it's so a lot of like harmonically and I guess structurally, a lot of the songs I have fleshed out, and the songs I've got now are songs that I've actually demoed with other musicians in the past. There's songs, you know, grooves and ideas that I've been working on, and I usually have like the shell, like the, you know, the structure, the melody, the chords, you know, and then obviously because there's 8 other people in the bands, they have to bring their own aspects of work, especially for horns, you know, and being an ex-horn player, you know, I kind of, you know, have a good idea what they can bring and how to communicate with them and work with them. So it's again, it's still a pretty organic process. I remember in the beginning, we were just jamming it out, just like, yep, that sounds good, or we'll try this or whatever. But I think for the vocal tunes, so for the vocal tunes we have with Lucy, which were Milk and What You Know, we pretty much got together and just talked about what could be some cool concepts to line up musically. And then as well with Daisy Fanning, For You and Queen, we went a little bit deeper and tried to really get into some interesting ideas about love and about, you know, I guess all the difficulties that throws up.
Well, yes. Topic.
So no, I think, you know, I think at first our method is very much, I guess, a bit more casual and relaxed, and, you know, we kind of just want to have some fun together, but I'm really looking forward to expanding into more conceptual ideas and really kind of having a really clear idea of, I mean, we do already, but I think, you know what I mean, like a bigger, clearer vision.
Well, that takes time as well.
Exactly.
Everyone's opinions and everyone's musical perspective. Do you document musically what has happened, like, you know, write charts or whatever you want to call it, or is it just those band members know the music?
Yeah, this was at first, this was one that initially part of why I mean, I was really inspired by going to Whopper and the commitment to just being able to listen and developing again the ear. The ear is always the thing. It's always the thing I tell my students, you know, the ear and listening is just so important. It's something I really underestimated in my classical degree. And because when I was really reliant on music and charts and, you know, have your head buried in the charts and I didn't want that. I for the band, I really wanted the guys to make that leap, you know, with just being a bit more autonomous and being able to have that freedom to create and to be spontaneous and to communicate as a group, as jazz does, you know, so well. I think, as you know, that's kind of that genre that does that, you know, that I think is just so amazing. So initially I was hesitant, but I think just for the purposes of practicality and getting depths in score, you know, music eventually did become kind of necessary, you know, just for ease of practicality. And
especially when you have especially when you have a large size band, there's always going to be clashes. It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I do try and avoid it when I can, just for that reason alone. But I've tried to find a balance. I've tried to find a good compromise where everyone's happy and no one feels too out of place. But at the same time, you know, I think pushing people in outside of their comfort zone a little bit is, I think you have to. Nobody learns or grows unless you're challenged. And it's just about, I guess, mitigating how people will react when you push them a bit too much. But yeah, so that's kind of my attitude towards that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks better as well when people don't have their you know, a music stand in front of them and they can just 100%. Kind of be into the music. Yeah. It's
100%. Yeah. Because if you make a mistake and you have music, you know, as opposed to when you make a mistake and there's no music, nobody cares. Nobody, you know, it's just you. Knows. People just look at your face. That's all people are looking at. But then, you know, that's just my perspective anyway. But yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Well, the third question is, what excites you musically right now?
So yeah, again, these are such simple but such interesting questions to think about. I think as musicians, you know, these are almost like the last things we think about, I feel like sometimes in reflection. They're so simple. It's like, why would I think that? Yeah, but it's such a cool thing it is cool to think about. I think the biggest thing for me was, like I said, I kind of felt a little bit disillusioned after my degree about music, and I had to ask a lot of questions about whether it's something I want to do going forward, because I don't know, lots of things, just the state of the world, you know, finding a job, just being able to hold down a place and just being able to, you know, have the little things that I guess we all kind of want, you know, just food.
Yeah, simple things, but they require monies.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what excites me now is not just being a player. It's not just being a musician, I mean to say. It's also someone having an increased role. We're about to partner with a mental health organization and become hopefully an ambassador for them. So I'm looking to do some more work in the community. And that's the big thing as well. We've done with the band, we did some stuff for Kangaroo Island when that, you know, got half burnt down basically earlier in the year. We did a fundraiser for Black Lives Matter. That excites me. It excites me to really try and make some kind of a difference somehow through our music. Still exactly figuring that out, but that's a really present goal for me, is to just try and give back, build communities. That's what we need. You know, I feel like this world has put us in so many little individual boxes to just, you know, exploit us for our attention. And even in the music industry, you know, Spotify, that's basically all they do, you know, and that's a lot of the music they pump out. So I want to try and reduce that and build more communities. So that excites me. Creating music, you know, actually having my music out there, being performed by people that want to perform it, with people that want to see it. Like, that's so amazing. That's so, you know, I guess I don't take enough gratitude from that. It's the simplest thing, but you know, having people that come, and it doesn't matter how many or how few, you know, we try and really which were really hard, try and put on a good time. And quite often people will come up to us and say, yeah, it was a great time. And that means a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that excites me, and just wanting to get better, just really wanting to get better. And I've started getting lessons again with Tal Cohen while he was briefly here. Shout out to Tal. If you see this, Tal, I need your email. Get me your email, Tal.
Okay.
Anybody, help me out with Tal's email. I want to keep getting lessons from him because he's gone away. But yeah, so I think, yeah, just in short, just that I'm able to enjoy music in a greater role. And I think, and there's one more thing I want to add, because this is really important too. Biggest thing for me was growing up as a kid. Like I've totally, what's the word I'm looking for? I totally was just in love with my iPod Classic. For me, it was it's just such a great experience having all my music on there. But I think as music became more and more and more and more accessible, because with the iPod Classic, you had to go out and find it and download it and put it there. We didn't just have, what playlist do I feel like? Chill hippie vibes, whatever. You didn't do that. So I think, and I lost that. Music became decontextualized for me. I was such a complementary role with the digital age. And I think what excites me now is rediscovering those kind of earlier childhood-like moments where you have that excitement. And so I started, for example, a record collection, having the physical copies of the record. That made a big difference for me. Yeah, because it's just that excitement of, because, a new album comes out, let's say whoever, you're like, yep, okay, Spotify, this song, didn't like that song, next song, yep. But then with a record, you're forced to sit down and listen to it, and you have it in your hands. I'm not that old, but I definitely feel old school in that sense.
Yeah, and because it's a real pain to skip tracks, so you just listen to it. It forces you to engage.
Absolutely. And it's and that way you're also directly as a music creator and maker. It makes me feel a lot better knowing that in some way I'm actually contributing to these musicians. Because. That's the other thing I'm thinking about, and because I know a lot of your guests are more of the jazz and the jazz academic side. And, there's a space for them, if you can get to that level and you work on your craft long enough and you people teach you how to produce and you add your creativity, there's usually a place for you, whether it be through the community or through being asked to write music. I think that's the great thing about going the academic route. But I think for when we're combining a little bit of both, with my project, Jazz Fundamentals, with kind of a pop sensibility, it's just where, we've got to make our money in live shows. There's no chance of,
Yeah, something needs to change with the whole streaming service situation. Because, especially when you're starting out and you're spending a lot of money on recording and all that stuff, and then you're getting such a small percentage per stream. It's just, how is that sustainable? And then earlier in the year when we realized that live performance can be just taken so quickly, because that's always been a at least you can go out and busk. If anything goes wrong, at least you can go and busk or do a performance at a cafe for some food or something. But even that got taken away. So it's such a delicate ecosystem now. And then when no income comes out of your recorded project and you're relying on less and less, it is delicate. It's not the end of the world, but it's just it forces you to be creative and approach things differently.
Yeah, definitely. And that's I think again what excites me with the band personally. This is just the start. I've already put in a whole heap of work in it, but this is just the start. Now we have our footing, and now people are kind of sort of starting to, get around to who we are. And that it's just the start. So I'm so excited for the journey ahead and where it will take me and where we can grow and create communities with like-minded people who just create experiences, not just for, to move your hips and your feet, but also to get you thinking and get your, thinking with your heart and feeling with your heart. That's what matters to me.
Awesome. Well, lovely to chat. And,
no worries. Thank you.
And best of luck with the upcoming releases. I will have some information down below.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly say it as well. December 18th, if you are in Perth, Come on down. It's at the Rosemount Hotel. We've got some amazing bands. We've got Odette Mercy and her Soul Atomics. We've got King Ibis and Freehand. It's going to be a really, really special event. If you're not in Perth, the album will be available on all streaming platforms December the 19th. The Liquid Project, the album is self-titled. So, yep, you can't miss it.
Get involved.
That's it. Thanks so much, Mace.